Curie by Biography. On a May night in 1902, in Paris, Marie and Pierre Curie went to the old shed where Marie had spent many years of hard work. In the darkness, they saw a beautiful light. No one had ever seen it before. It was the glow of the radium. Marie Curie, the discoverer of radium, was the first great woman scientist and the first person ever to win 2 Nobel Prizes. She gave the world a new branch of science and a new medical treatment. She began life as a Maria Skłodowska in Warsaw, Poland. My dear children, your mother has just presented you with a new baby sister, Maria. When will we see her? Her father, Professor Skłodowski, was a professor of physics, even as a small child. Maria loved to look at the instruments he used. You're a funny child. Do you like my physic apparatus? Physic apparatus, yes. Maria never forgot anything. She did not forget this. Someday she would learn to use it. Warsaw was a part of Poland conquered and ruled by Russia. Everyone had to use the Russian language. It was forbidden to study Polish history or literature, but some patriotic teachers taught it in secret. Maria's was one of them. Maria, tell us about Stanislaus Augustus. He was elected King of Poland in 1764. He was intelligent and well educated. The class was studying Polish history in the Polish language. This was a crime. Suddenly, a bell rang. The class rose. The signal, quick, girls. 4 girls ran along the aisles collecting books and paper. Get out your sewing. They ran them to another room. I see. This is sewing class. While the girl worked, I read them Russian fairy tales. They returned to their seat as the door opened. It was the headmistress with the Russian school inspector. The inspector opened one desk lid. He found nothing. I want to question one of your pupils. Very well, Maria scholars, please stand. Maria had prayed not to be called on, but she always was. She spoke perfect Russian and was the best student, though also the youngest. Now she answered perfectly the inspector's many questions. Name the teachers who have reigned since Catherine II. Tell the names and title of the royal family. Paul I, Alexander I, Nicholas I, Her Majesty the Empress, His Imperial Majesty. Later, Professor Skłodowski was given a much poorer job. Maria talked to her older sister, Branya. I've won a scholarship to the high school. Should I go there? It is a Russian school. There are our bitter enemies. Of course you should go. The Russians want to keep us ignorant. We must learn everything we can. And you most of all because you're so smart. So, Maria went to high school, and in June of 1883, there were graduation ceremonies. The gold medals for the best student goes to Maria Skłodowska. Her father was very proud. We have many relatives in the country who want you to visit them. You must spend the next year enjoying yourself. But Papa, I accepted to go to work. You're only 15 years old. You spent most of your life studying hard. Now you must have fun. So Maria once visited. Her aunt stuffed her with good food. Her uncles taught her to ride horseback. Her cousins took her to parties. Look, tonight I danced through the soles of my shoe. Wait until there is a cooling. You will dance for 2 days and night. Then a night of a cooling came. The girls in their costume climbed into the sleigh. Their escorts right beside them. Where are we going? Everywhere is a magical journey. They rode from village to village, where other sleighs joined them. Musicians rode in front, playing as they went. Here and there at a big house they stopped, were greeted with trays of food and dance. It's wonderful. How long does it go on? For another day and night. But the cool ends at last, and so did Maria's wonderful holiday. In September, she returned to Warsaw. I want to earn my living helping you to study medicine. You are a dear, but how will you earn money? I have written out these cards to send lesson in arithmetic, geometry, French by a young lady with diploma. But not many people wanted lessons, and those who did made it hard for Maria. My sons need a tutor. You're too young. Sonny needs reading lessons, but he doesn't want them. Yeah, I won't learn to read, so there. She seemed to spend her time tramping around Warsaw in bad weather. She made very little money. I forgot to ask my husband for your money. I'll surely have it for you next week. I must take a job as a governess with a family in the country. Then the salary will enough to help. Live in the country, leave Papa. Why should you do that for me? Oh, Branya, because you are older. You have been reading for years. After you became a doctor, then you can help me. So, Branya went to Paris to enter Sorbonne University. And in 1886, 18-year-old Maria became a governess. Miss Klodeska, come in, my dear. Take off your things. Warm yourself with hot teas. Later, she met the young family members. This is Branka, my oldest daughter. And Zia and Julek will be your special pupils. I am so glad you have came. The family was friendly. Maria get along well. Then the oldest son, Kazimierz, came home for the holiday. I've never known a girl like you. You dance divinely. You're beautiful. You're right and roll. And you have a brilliant brain. Maria, I love you. Could you love me? Marry me? Yes, Kazimierz, I do love you. Happily, Kazimierz wanted to ask his parents' approval. My son and heir, marry a governess? Never. Oh, Kazimierz, you must be mad. You could marry the best catch in the neighborhood. Kazimierz returned to school. Maria went on with her teaching. No more was said in the family of such a marriage. I must stay here. Branya needs the money I sent her. I will forget love and go on with my studies. For 3 years, Maria worked with her pupils. In her spare time, she studied. Whatever books she could find on physics, mathematics, and chemistry. When she had almost given up hope, things began to change for the better. Papa writes that he has a better job. He can send money to Branya. I should say for myself. Spring came, and more good news. Branya has almost finished studies. She is to be married to a young doctor. They want me to live with them and study at Sorbonne. It is too late for me. I am too stupid. Too many years have passed, but at least she could return to Warsaw. She took a new job with a family there. She saw her father often, and in the evening she visited a cousin. The Museum of Industry and Agriculture That sounds very important. That is only for fool the Russians. The important thing is our small laboratory back here. A laboratory where young Poles can learn science. You too, Cousin Maria. A laboratory where I could learn to use the equipment. For that on, she knew what she wanted to do. She spent her every spare moment in the laboratory. She saved every spare cent. At least she wrote Brunner that she could come to Paris. From my passport, for my rail tickets, from my tuition. Oh, thank you, Father. I can add this small bits, dear child. The day came to leave. I sent my mattress, my bedclothes, my trunks. I have my folding chair for the train, my foods, books, a quilt. It won't be too long. Soon I'll be back to you and stay. Yes, my dear, work hard. Good luck. 3 days later, she reached Paris and the apartment where Brunner lived with her new husband, Casimir Delusky. At last you're here. Welcome, little sister. I'll show you your room. It's small but quiet. Please, could I first go look at the Sorbonne? Following direction, she climbed the open upper deck of a bus. Friends, where the air is free, the people are free. There are no Russian spies. At last, she reached her goal. The Sorbonne, where women are free to learn, where I am free to learn. She went in, paid her fees, and signed up for classes. Your name, Maria, no, Mary Sklodeska. From now on, I'll use the French spelling. Then classes began. I thought I knew French, knew physics and mathematics. I know nothing. I am stupid. I must study. But at the Delusky's apartment, there were interruptions. Evening parties, sometimes a young Polish piano player. No one knew that the young player, Ignacy Paderewski, would one day be a famous pianist and the leader of Free Poland. Soon afterward, if I find a cheap room near the Sorbonne, I'll save 2 hours going and coming each day and my bus fare. But you will have to pay rent and buy food. You'll not have enough to live on. But Mary insisted. Soon, she moved to an attic room with only lamp for light, a small alcohol stove for heat, a pitcher to bring water from downstairs. No one bothered her. She could study until 2 a.m. and start again at 6 a.m. She also forgot to eat. She grew pale and thin. One day she fainted on the stairs. A friend ran for classmate Dalsky. Maria, what's wrong? The little one has been starving herself. Put her to bed and feed her beefsteaks. But no one could stop Mary from studying. And after final examination, the results were announced. First in order of merit, Mademoiselle Mary Sklodowska. After a few summer months in Warsaw, she returned to Paris, whereas fat and with money from a scholarship. Soon, she spoke to friends about a problem. I have a chance to do some research on my own, but I have no laboratory large enough for the equipment I need. I will speak to a friend of mine, a fine scientist, who might have a workroom large enough that you could use. Perhaps you know him. Pierre Curie. Of course he is a great scientist, head of the physics and chemistry laboratory. Too brilliant to bother with my little experiments. But she was persuaded to return the next day to meet him. Perry, I want you to meet Mary Slodowska. From then on, Perry saw Mary as often as possible. He fell in love before he returned to Poland again. He asked her to marry him. Oh, Perry. Long ago, I decided to put science first and never marry, and I decided the same. But I never expect to meet a gal who share my ideas about science. No, I must go home, take care of Papa, teach, do what I can for my country. But in Poland, you can go on with your studies. You must not give up your work. Mary did leave Paris and Paris to return to Warsaw and her father. But she returned to Paris in the fall, and Paris would not give up. At least, Mary admitted that she loved him. We can be married at my parents' house at Skias. They love you very much, and I love them. They remind me of my own family. They were married on July 26, 1895. They rode away on new bicycles for a trip through the countryside. As their relatives and friends waved goodbye, she will be happy with my Perry. There's no one on earth to equal him. And you'll have a loving daughter in Mary. When they returned to Paris, Mary bought a cookbook and asked Bronner for help. She had starved herself, but she wanted to feed Perry well. Why do your dishes turn out so good, and mine turn out a mess? You'll learn. You have never kept house before. In September 1897, a daughter was born. They named her Irene. Is she not the most beautiful baby you have ever seen? Absolutely the most beautiful. But Mary still went to the laboratory for 8 hours every day, leaving the baby with nurse. You'll take her to the park for fresh air and sunshine? Yes, indeed, madame. And she and Paris spend their evenings studying. You will talk of Becquerel's discovery of the strange rays given off by uranium. I want to find out what caused these rays. A fine idea. You may find something important. I'll need a place to work and room to test many samples. I'll speak to the school director. There must be a room that you can use. She was offered a glass in porridge, and heated and dumped. She took it, went to work. I know that the strength of radiation depends on the amount of uranium in the sample, and it is not affected by heat or light. Where does it come from? Is it present in any other metals? She got samples for other chemical elements and began examining them. Perry, I found today that thorium given off ray just like uranium. You are a true scientist. Do you think we might call this strange radiance radioactivity? And the elements that give off the rays are radioactive? Yes, I like it. Then Mary did tests to learn the amount of radioactivity in her samples. The results surprised her. I have done my tests over and over. There is no mistake. There is far more radioactivity here than the amount of uranium this sample could produce. Of course, she talked it over with Perry. You see what it means, Perry? If I have made no mistake, there must be an non-element present causing this powerful radiation. A new element. I know you, Mary. You have made no mistake. You have made an important discovery. If so, could we call it Polonian in honor of my country? Seeing the importance of Mary's work, Perry put his own aside in order to help her. Soon, their tests show that there must be two known unknown elements in the uranium-bearing one. And the second is much stronger, more radiant than the first. Perhaps we should name it radium. Find it, and you may call it anything you wish. The Curies know many things about these radioactive elements could do, but other scientists believe in them. They had seen them, weighed them, feel them. If it is true what you claim were absurd beliefs scientists have held for hundreds of years, then we must find salts of pure radium to prove it. It was in pitch blending, or that Mary had found signs of the new elements, but in such small amounts that they would need tons of pitch blend to find the proof. How could we afford it? And where will we find a room to work with so much of it? At the mines, they removed the uranium salts to use in glassware, then discard the rest. Perhaps we could buy the discard ore for very little. For a place to work, we have been offered this old shed, a leaking room, no heat, no floor, but we will use it. A friend arranged for the Curies receive the pitch blend dumping by paying only transportation costs. At last it arrived. You're like a child with a birthday gift. Our pitch blended. It is here. Then Mary became one-woman factory, working in a country yard more often than indoors. I'll find the new elements if I must treat a mountain of pitch blend. For 4 years, they carried on this research. Perry also worked at his teaching job. Mary herself became a teacher to help with express. At least came an evening in May 1902. After his wife's death, Perry's father had to come live with them. Father, Mary has something important to tell you. We have done it. We have the proof, salts of radium. That night, after Aaron was asleep, they walked back to the old shed. In the darkness, they saw a beautiful light. No one had ever seen it before. It was the glow of uranium. Don't light the lamp yet, just look. It is beautiful. Now, radium was official and in great demand. Doctors found it valuable in the treatments of cancer. But amount Mary had produced from all her work was about enough so fill the tip of a teaspoon. A company in America wants to know how to make radium salt from pitch blend ore. Shall we tell them, or shall we patent the information and sell it? To hold back information, to sell it, would be contrary to the scientific spirit. Perry agreed. The Curies never tried to make money from their discoveries. In June 1903, the work she had done, Mary won her Doctor of Science degree. In the name of Curie, Madam, I wish to express to you all our congratulations. The Royal Society of London invited Perry to lecture and gave them to the Davy Medal. You're the first woman ever to attend a Royal Society meeting. Proof of your fame, madam. I don't think I like being famous. It takes too much time. In December, it was announced that the Great Nobel Prize in Physics had been given to them and Henry Becquerel. Oh, Perry, 70,000 francs. Now, you can give up the teaching that takes so much of your time, and perhaps we can hire a lab assistant. In 1904, Perry was made professor of physics at the Sorbonne, and the Curies had a new doctor. Is she not beautiful, your baby sister Eve? Yes, like a little doll. In 1906, the Curies rented a cottage for the Easter holiday. It was a happy time. Life has been very wonderful with you, Mary. It rained the day after they came home. Mary came back later from a shopping trip. She found two old friends with Dr. Curie. Their face frightened her. Mary, there has been an accident. Perry was crossing the street. A big horse-drawn truck was coming. He slipped. Mary, Perry is dead. Perry is dead? Dead? Truly dead? She walked past and pegged them to the wet garden. I said to Perry once that we could not exist without each other. Perry said you are wrong, even if one has to go on like a body without a soul. One must work just the same. I will try. Soon she was offered the physics profession at the Sorbonne that Perry had held. You're the first woman ever to offer such a job in France. I'll try to carry on Perry's work and to support our children. On November 5, the Hall of Science was crowded with children, students, reporters, and the public. Madame Curie was to give her first lecture. She entered, made a stiff little bow, and began to speak. When one considers the progress that has been made in physics in the past 10 years, she had begun her lecture exactly at the point where Perry had stopped in his own notes. She won many honors and prizes, including second Nobel Prize in 1911. She was more concerned with the new Institute of Radium being built in Paris. It is on Rue Paris Curie. It will hold the wonderful new laboratory Perry always dreamed of. Mary herself had the laboratory for many years. In 1921, with Eve and Aaron, she visited the United States. At the White House, President Harding present her with a gram of radium paid for by donation from American women. Aaron and the young scientist she married Frederick Joliet continued the work of the Curies. In 1935, they would share a Nobel Prize for the discovery of artificial radioactivity. They spoke well, didn't they? We're back in the fine days of the old laboratory. Marie Curie died in 1934 of leukemia from the radium she had worked with for so many years. She laid the cornerstone on which scientists have built the atomic age. Her last book was published a year later.